The Buckeye State Sheriff's Association is providing this podcast as a public service for informational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the host or guest of this podcast are their own and may not reflect those of the BSSA, employees of the BSSA, or any of its officials. Any reference to a specific product, entity, opinion, issue, or other such item does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation thereof by the BSSA. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association.
I want my employees to be safe, give them every piece of equipment I can financially with the commissioners to keep them safe and give them a good work environment. We're a big family atmosphere here. It's mostly for my staff, the community, and just to put my stamp on everything in Guernsey County.
Welcome to the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association podcast, where we'll introduce sheriffs and deputies across Ohio. During this conversation, you'll get to know the men and women serving you and hear all about the good work being done in the Buckeye State every day. Now let's join your host, Paden County Sheriff Jason Landers, and today's special guest.
Welcome to the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association podcast. We're here today with Sheriff Jeffrey D. Paden from Guernsey County, Ohio. I'm Jason Landers, the sheriff in Paden County. I'm the host of this podcast. Sheriff, welcome in from I'm going to say southeastern Ohio, definitely east, a little bit south in comparison to where I'm located at, but right across that I-70 corridor that runs from Indiana across over to West Virginia there. How are things going over in Cambridge, Ohio?
Brother, Sheriff, we are doing great. We have a lot of stuff going on in our county. I got a lot of good people working for us, but we're in the southeastern part. We're about 80 miles east of Columbus.
Well, I had the pleasure to be down that way. My wife and I did. And as you know, and some folks may listen to this, I'm trying to make my way around the state of Ohio this year and just visit sheriffs in their home county. And it's been really interesting to me. I've been able to see some landscape I've never seen before. It gets a little hilly when you get over your way. And, you were very hospitable, man. It was very nice to meet with you in your office in the time you took to show Jamie and I around and introduce us to some of your staff and show us that way. But let's talk about Jeff Paden for a little bit first, Sheriff. Talk about where you are from, born and raised, and just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Okay, yes, sir. So I'm born and raised in Guernsey County, Cambridge, Ohio. I went to Cambridge High School. I always like to put a plug in that we were the first class in 1988. I know that's a long time ago. We were first class in Cambridge history to go to state in basketball. So I have to put that plug in. I was on that team. After that, I decided early on I wanted to get into law enforcement. And I'd say that has to do a lot with my mother. She raised my brother and I, and my brother went into law enforcement also. He's a Columbus cop and he has 35 years in there right now. So I went to vocational school my junior year for law enforcement, went on, came back to high school my senior year, went on to get my associate's degree at Zane State, went on to get my bachelor's degree at Ohio University of Zanesville. In between there, I worked as a security guard, catching shoplifters, and as I was going to school, I started my career at Longaberger, the basket company, as security. Then I ended up getting on with the Guernsey County Sheriff's Office in 1994, October. Worked in the jail for a couple years, made it to the road, and then do you just want me to go on from there, sir?
Yeah, that's fine, man. Just, however things go. I want to touch just a minute back to Cambridge and going to the state tournament. So basketball is a passion of ours and our family. And you talked about being the first Cambridge team to make it to Columbus. So that's back in the St. John Arena days, right? I mean,
yes.
What a dream. And then I coached my kids' entire, basically their life until my youngest son just graduated. I stepped down from coaching so I could watch him and follow him around in his collegiate basketball time. But, raised him up going to the Schottenstein Center and talking about what it was like at St. John's and all those old times. And then kind of like you, for the first time my boys went to Antwerp High School, and the first time in their school history, the boys basketball team make it to the state tournament. That was the 2022 season, just a few years ago. And the first year that it went back to Dayton. So, our whole life we grew up in Columbus watching these state tournaments, didn't miss anything, dreamed of being there. And then they've got to go to Udine Arena. Now, I'll say that anytime you get to that level, I guess it doesn't really matter what venue you play in, but kind of a buzzkill that you don't get to be in the Shot, you don't get to be in Columbus. My kids don't know what it was like to be in St. John's, but, UD provided a good experience for us. But, man, what a special time it is as a player for you many, many, many years ago, as a coach and a parent for my kids to watch that process, man. Just it's amazing what sports can do for people.
Oh, I'm a big advocate of sports. Anything really just to keep you busy, whether it be band, sports, something to keep your mind busy and to keep you out of trouble. I mean, because it's a work ethic thing that you build, and it follows you throughout your career, honestly. But to go back to the high state thing, we played in St. John's, but we played at the fairgrounds for our regional tournaments, and that was a little bit different. And then when we went to St. John's to play, I have to say this: I took a charge right in the center of the Ohio symbol at the St. John's Arena. But that was the only highlight of my career at St. John's. I scored one free throw, so that's it.
It doesn't matter, man. But what you talked about, I'll build on for a second. And like I told you in the onset of this thing off air, we're going to spiral right and left and talk about some things. But you talked about what athletics means and how it builds discipline and these different types of things. And when I'm looking for people to hire, and I talk about this in a teacher boot camp that our economic development folks put together, we talk to teachers that are trying to learn more about what employers in Paden County want to see in people. And I talk a lot about athletics because I believe it does build discipline, time management, working together for a unified purpose. And I think that expands into it could be band, it could be folks that are involved in plays in their school, anything that has to do with any of those characteristics. Those are the kind of people that I want to recruit into our profession because I think coming into it, they have a good understanding of what we do in law enforcement.
Oh, exactly. And you can build off of those skills. For instance, if I have a person put in an application with us and it has Eagle Scout on there, I mean, that's huge. If you're a Boy Scout and you make Eagle Scout, I mean, that's a top echelon right there. And, I hire a lot of military people too. I think I have about 8 people here that are from military backgrounds. It just helps with your resume. And I encourage people to put that down if they played sports. Make sure you put that in your resume because we do want to see that, and that shows good work ethic.
Yeah, it sure does. Let's talk just a little bit more about your getting up to work. So we're going to talk about your law enforcement career, Jeff, and we're going to bring you up to the time that you became the sheriff of Guernsey County. So just talk a little bit about the assignments that you had, maybe the promotional process or different positions you had within the organization after you went to Guernsey County.
Okay. So in 1994, October of 1994, like I said, I was hired on to the sheriff's office. I actually had my academy and my jailer's academy already before I got hired. They hired me in the jail, and a lot of times sheriff's offices back then, you start out in the jail and you don't get to start on the road. Which was a great experience for me. I worked 2 years and a month in the jail, and I could probably count down the days and the hours. So I was really itching to get on onto the road, but it did help me learn people, learn the court system, learn how to treat people fairly, and treat people how they treat you, kind of thing. So after that, I made it to the road as a deputy. Worked second shift for about 8 years. Went to midnights. Went to day shift. A detective slot came open, and I've always wanted to be a detective. I made detective through my career, and then I made sergeant detective. I had some very, very interesting cases. My now captain, Sam Williams, we were detectives together. I would say one of the hardest cases that we ever had to do together was that we had a double homicide here in our county, which involved more of a gang situation. And I think we took down 6 people in that. So that was a 2-year-long investigation, and I've had other highlights, but a lot of highlights have been the helping people highlights. I like helping people. So after I made sergeant, I got promoted to captain in the detective division. I was a captain for the office and also a detective. in 2015, I inherited, I was appointed by the party to take over that portion because the sheriff left early. 2016, I was elected sheriff and have been sheriff ever since.
All right. So talk about that process a little bit. I think some folks that listen to this podcast, just from feedback I've gotten, don't clearly understand the process. How do you become the sheriff, right? So, you had a unique path. It's not unique across the state. It's unique to some, but you talked about being appointed. So your predecessor did not complete his elected term. And in Ohio, we run 4-year elected terms. We're on the presidential election cycle. So your predecessor chose to step away before the end of his term. Then you went through that appointment process with your political party. Then you get yourself on the ballot, and just talk about what that's been like at that time, and since then your experience as sheriff.
Yeah. So the appointment part is whatever party you're affiliated with, whether it be a Republican or Democrat, and you have to the party will okay you to run as a Democrat or a Republican. And you have an interview process, if you would, with that party to see if they want to nominate you to fill that vacant seat, which they and you could actually have another Democrat or Republican trying to fill that vacant seat too. So you could have competition in something like that. Fortunately, I was the only person that wanted that, and they appointed me into that seat. And then obviously I started running for sheriff after that to fill the elected position of sheriff in 2016.
All right. And how many times since then have you been elected?
1, 2, twice. I've had 10 years in so far.
All right, man. Well, that's awesome. And it's been a pleasure to get to know you. And, we're far enough away geographically in the state that we didn't know each other real well. It seems like, this past year, and I talked about visiting your office, that just helps grow relationships for us when we're in this together for what we do in our respective counties, and being able to see you right there in your hometown. Sheriff, let's turn a little bit more back to you personally, if you will. What kind of hobbies and interests do you have? What do you do outside of the office? What occupies your time?
I'm if you would, pretty boring guy. I used to play a lot of basketball, obviously, until I ripped my Achilles in the Gus Macker when I was 31, and I ripped my second Achilles playing at the Armory and when I was 36. So my basketball career took a little dive. So my other hobbies are I love doing yard work. I love working around the house. I have a brand new grandbaby. I love spending time with him. He just turned 1. I will say this. I have 2 boys, and my wife, she runs the county home. She's a nurse. My 2 boys, my youngest son, he is a corrections officer at Noble County Prison. And my oldest son, he stays with me and my wife. He was born with spina bifida, so he's had a lot of medical problems. But what I'm getting to is when he was 7 years old, he wanted to play baseball like everybody else, and we couldn't find a league for him in our local town. So we were looking around, and the closest one we could find was Pickerington, which is probably 60 miles away from us. Towards Columbus, and he's in a wheelchair full time. So we went to that league, and it's called a Challenger League. It was for mental and physical handicapped kids. So we played 2 years there, and then we decided to start our own league at Cambridge. And so we started our own league. We had kids from Cambridge and surrounding counties from ages 5 to 18 playing in the Challenger League, and that's for mental and physical handicapped kids. So what an enjoyment that was for me and my wife. After 16 years, this is my first season I haven't coached. I just kind of stepped down and let other people do it. My boy hasn't played for about 10 years now. So that was my passion. My passion has always been kids and helping others. So that was a hobby, but I really like doing yard work and stuff like that at home too.
That's awesome. And I read, when I do these interviews with folks that I might not know personally as well, I try to do a little bit of internet research leading up to the podcast just to prepare a little bit. And I saw where you guys had formed that league and brought it to Cambridge, man, and that's awesome. And,
yes, and as a parent, you want your kids to be just like everybody else as far as playing sports and stuff like that. And I'm telling you, as a parent, when you see your kid put that uniform on just like all the other kids, and they're out there having fun, and it brings a tear to your eye, and it's a great league, and it's great for the confidence of the kids too. I've had everywhere from I've had a blind boy play for me. I've had kids that had to kick the ball off the tee. It's not about winning or losing for us. It's just about going out there and having fun. We had two teams. That's all we have is two teams. I've had everywhere from 30 players to almost 40 players. So we've had two teams of 20 or so. But it's just about getting out there and letting the kids have fun just like everybody else.
Man, that's awesome, sure. And just on behalf of your citizens, I thank you for them, just because that's just fantastic that you're able to put that together and commit to that, and the joys that brought your wife and you.
I had Kevin Ritz. He used to be a professional baseball player. He was actually the president of our league at the time when we started it, and he really helped me get it started. And the support I've had from Cambridge and Guernsey County and surrounding counties has just been, they're all in when it's helping kids.
Yeah, that's very cool, man. Let's talk just a minute about the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association. They're the sponsor of this podcast. Talk about any involvement that you might have had with the organization. You sit on any committees? What kind of things for you could you talk about the BSSA?
Yeah, so I'm telling you right now, when you take your 3-week all sheriff school at the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association, the wealth of knowledge that you get, not only from the director, Bob Cornwell, and his wife, but other sheriffs who come in, and the brotherhood that we develop as sheriffs, because there's 88 of us. And normally your sheriff is someone that's loved in their community, and they're outgoing, and they're real personable, and they're in it for the right reason. So when you're a member of the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association, you have 87 other sheriffs to lean on for questions. You have the director, who his knowledge is second to none. He can help you out with anything, and just the brotherhood and sisterhood that we have as an association is really strong, and I'm proud to be a member of that. I have been on some committees. I haven't had the desire to run for president like you are, and thank you for doing that, because we need people to run for president and get it. And you've been a great one, by the way. But no, I mean, I am so thankful for the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association, and they are for all citizens in Ohio. And we're part of the national organization also, but people in Ohio don't realize how lucky they are to have an association like we have, that's totally for the people, because we are elected by the people.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we'll talk about a little bit more. I want to talk about the Image Enhancing Committee and where you're coming in with some staff to help the association with that. But I'll talk about that after the break, when we get into a little bit more about the Guernsey County Sheriff's Office. But one thing I want to touch on, and this is an educational piece that I truly enjoy, and I think the feedback from other folks, some sheriffs that have listened to this, enjoy this as well. Sheriff, talk to us about the community that you serve. Talk about the different cities, towns, villages in your community. One thing I think is cool is talking about school districts, as I relate about a lot back to the sports world. But what kind of things are there? Do you have is there a special product that's made there? So take a little bit of time, if you will, just educate us on Guernsey County.
Sure. Guernsey County is, the population's about 39,000 people. Our interstate, we're famous for the interstate that comes through our county, two of them, Interstate 70 and 77. So we have a lot of hotels and gas stations and stuff right around those exits. We have 3 high schools, major high schools, and then a vocational school in our county. Our county seat is Cambridge, is our main city, and then we have Bergs, we have Byesville, and we have other places. Our main law enforcement in our county is Cambridge Police Department, Byesville Police Department, State Highway Patrol, which we have a great working relationship with everyone. And then ourselves, and then we have 2 large state parks, or 1 large state park, and then another park. We have Salt Fork State Park in our county, which brings in thousands and thousands of visitors. We have I think the largest shoreline in Ohio with our lake at Salt Fork. Then we have Seneca Lake, which is another huge lake. It's governed or ran by the Muskingum Watershed, and it's just another great area to come and visit. if you want to fish, camp, both places are. Get a lot of people coming in our county. We're mostly known for. We have several factories in our county that produces. We have Colgate Palmolive, which is one of the bigger ones. They produce all the detergents and stuff like that. And we have Ridge Tool, Detroit Diesel, and I don't want to forget any of them, but that's just the larger ones that I remember right offhand. But we're a middle class working community. Just a lot of good people in our county, just trying to make a living.
Yeah, Sheriff, talk a little bit about that. I mean, it's kind of unique. It happens in other places, but when you have two interstates that intersect like that right in your community, we see a lot of activity just on our 4-lane U.S. routes that run through, the northwest part up here. When you talk about, for example, you talk about drug couriers and how they traffic, we'll just say crystal methamphetamine that comes all the way up from the southern border, comes up through Indianapolis our way to Fort Wayne, cuts across the north part of our county, goes over to Toledo, up to Detroit. I mean, I'm just curious, when you talk about the interstates and where they lead to and come from, any unique problems that brings to you?
Oh, absolutely. And, when I say our population is 39,000, when you have oil and gas and everything going on in your county, the census doesn't count for that extra 10,000 people and all the people that's coming through our county. Yeah, our county has a drug corridor going through it, honestly. We are on the bulk task force that the governor has put together. And one reason why we are on the bulk task force is because of Interstate 70 and 77, which the bulk task force concentrates mostly on bulk drugs coming into our hotels, through our interstate, through our county. So the challenges are that you get a lot of people that you don't want in your county. Now, that being said, we get a lot of people we do want in our county to support our businesses and our hotels. But there's a lot of issues that come through our county, and we get a lot of drugs off our interstate.
Well, to your point, I always say the good outweighs the bad, man. So there,
the cup is always half full, not half empty.
Absolutely, man. I hear you there. Let's talk about your 30+ year career in law enforcement and just what kind of changes from your perspective that you've seen. I've asked this every episode. I get a little bit different answers. Sometimes the answers all lead back to the same, and I'm not going to lead into it. I'm just going to listen to your response. What kind of changes over 30+ years have you seen from your perspective in our profession?
My 30+ career, I mean, there's been a lot of changes. And the law enforcement itself has been, in law enforcement, you treat people how they treat you. Real quick, when I interview people at our office for a deputy's position, if I don't hear out of them they want to help people, I don't help them. I don't hire them, I should say. Because that's your number one job. You gotta want to help people. I can teach deputies the job, but you can't teach them to be personable and caring. That being said, that's kind of stayed true to our office, even more so since since I've been sheriff, because that's just the way I am. But back when I was working the road, you had a lot of bar fights. A lot of problems with marijuana and alcohol. And that was pretty much it, marijuana and alcohol. You did see some cocaine here and there and some LSD, but in our area, it was just marijuana and alcohol. We had a lot of bars in our county back then. We are right now pretty much a dry county as far as bars go. It's just not prevalent like they used to be. Technology has went crazy, leaps and bounds, in a good way to help solve crimes. Back when I was working, we still fingerprinted everything. Each deputy had a fingerprint kit in their car. You dusted for prints. Even if you didn't think you were going to get a print, people wanted you to dust for prints because that's what they knew. They didn't know anything about DNA. Through the years, I have just watched, in our county, things grow. In the disrespect, we were respected a lot back in that day, and your word was your bond. As times have went on, we're not respected as well, and the trust isn't there with a lot of law enforcement. Now, I can say in our county we still have the trust of the public, but with the internet, with social media, it's really hurt the law enforcement community, but it's also helped, if you get what I'm saying, Sheriff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to build on what you said, because I say this often, that your point that you spoke about, where trust is lost in some of these things. I mean, a lot of crime scene processing and people's disrespect for law enforcement and things have caused us, unfortunately, even to lose some credibility at times. And I'll say even in the courtroom at testimony, if you don't have blood or DNA or a camera recorded confession, prosecutors are kicking cases, right? I mean, you used to be able to go to a scene, you investigated it, you retained the information in your brain, you typed it to paper, you sent it to the prosecutor, you go to court, you testified under oath to the facts as you remembered it, and you had that respect, you had that trust, you had that credibility, and you would successfully conclude cases based off of that. And in some aspects, the ship has sailed on that, because, as I said, you don't have DNA, you don't have a blood stamped confession, and you don't have it on camera. Prosecutors don't even want to take it because the juries question what you're talking about, and that's unfortunate for law enforcement officers today.
Yes, and we have cameras in our cars, on our deputies, on our jailers. I mean, cameras everywhere. And you're right, Sheriff. It's almost as if you don't have it on video of what happened, you might as well forget about it. Because you used to be, your word was your bond. Now it's not so much that anymore, as the public, they watch cops on TV and they watch all these video things, and normally that's how they base the crime, is off of evidence, as you said, like video, DNA. Circumstantial is just kind of a rough thing anymore, whereas we used a lot of that back when I had started.
Yeah, you're right. Sheriff Paden, talk to us about your passion to serve in law enforcement. And just, I ask it this way. I say, what drives you when you wake up every morning to put that uniform on with pride and go serve your citizens?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty simple for me. As a kid growing up, like I said, I was raised in a divorced family where my mom was there mostly for me, and you just didn't want to disappoint your parents, right? You didn't want to disappoint your mom. You wanted to do what was best. I found myself even in grade school sticking up for kids who were getting bullied, even if it meant something happening to me. But I just couldn't take that, because I learned that from my mother. She loved everyone. It didn't matter if you're the president of the United States or the homeless person. She treated everybody the same. So I kind of learned that. My brother and I both did. I think that's probably why the direction of law enforcement we took that way, because we always wanted to help people, and help people in the hate, and really get the bad guy. You want to get the bad guy off the street. So every day I wake up, I will say this, Sheriff, that the best times I had in law enforcement was when I worked the road, because of the interaction with the public and just the excitement of it, if you would, from call to call. As a sheriff, and I know the responsibilities are huge. For us, it's normally the jail that weighs on us, but you wake up every day knowing that you're doing something good. I want my employees to be safe, give them every piece of equipment I can financially with the commissioners to keep them safe, and give them a good work environment. Going through the years, sometimes our work environment wasn't the best, but you got enough stress out on the road. You don't need a bunch of stress at work, and it seems to be working really well for us. We're a big family atmosphere here. I know all my employees. I know most of their kids. I go to their events. So when I wake up, it's not only for the public, it's for my staff, and that's probably why I'm going to probably run another 4 years after this 4 years. And then I have great people under me who wants to be in charge. So it's mostly for my staff, the community, and just to put my stamp on everything. in Guernsey County.
All right. And before we take the ad break here, is there any specific case that stands out to you that you wish to talk about over your career? Now, you've had a laundry list of things that you've done within that organization over 30 plus years. You did mention a little bit about a double homicide investigation, but Sheriff, anything that just stands out you'd like to talk about that over your career as far as a specific case or something?
I had a kind of a bucket list I wanted to accomplish as a deputy and in my career, and fortunately I have been able to do that. The youth and the youth is our future. So I would have to say anything I have been able to do to help our youth. I love kids, so anything I've been able to do to help, crimes against children, or going to events. And just so they can remember, law enforcement are good people; they're not bad people. That's probably the highlight of my career.
All right, we're going to go ahead and pay the bills, take an ad break right now, and when we come back, we'll continue on with Sheriff Jeffrey Paden from Guernsey County. Back after this break.
This podcast is sponsored by the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association. The BSSA is in Columbus, Ohio, and was established in 1931. The Buckeye State Sheriff's Association was formed to perpetuate an efficient organization of Ohio sheriffs and their deputies. BSSA provides an exchange of information pertaining to the duties, methods, and official practice of its members. The association also exerts such influence as may be necessary to bring about and preserve legislation in harmony with the needs of enforcement officials and the safety of the public. The BSSA supports the efforts of this podcast to promote Ohio sheriffs and deputies and their mission to serve and protect the citizens of Ohio.
Welcome back to the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association podcast. We're continue on with Sheriff Jeff Paden from Guernsey County, Ohio. He's over in Cambridge, Ohio. Sheriff, let's talk a little bit more, if you would, about your sheriff's office and the different divisions that you are responsible for within your purview as the sheriff of the county.
Sure. Our sheriff's office that we're currently in was built in 1994. Our building was built in 1994. It's a 66-bed facility. For a jail. I have 63 employees. I have jail staff, about 18 employees. I have road staff. We have school resource officers. We have detectives, drug detectives, road units. Now, we have 527 square miles of county. So that's a pretty big county. Normally on the road, I have 2 deputies a shift, which is not ideal because of so much county. It could take, when I was working, it could take a half an hour to back up your unit running lights and siren. I try to keep 3 a shift on, but just circumstances don't allow that. So we rely a lot on backup from State Highway Patrol and other agencies. So we have. At the office, we have a full-time jail, which is, my responsibility is to serve papers for the court. 2 main responsibilities of the sheriff is to have a jail and serve papers for the court. Of course, we do a ton of other things. Some of the resources we have a special response team, which a lot of people call a SWAT team. Our special response team, we have 13 people working in that. We have an air support unit, a drone unit. We have a crisis negotiation team. We have 8 people that work in that, and they're all certified. We found that the mental health is really, really causing a lot of crime and a lot of incidents. And then we decided as a group to go get certified in crisis negotiation. We have K9 units. We have 3 of those, drug sniffing and tracking dogs. I'm the dog warden for the county. But I got a sergeant who works in Carla Kearns. She does a great job. Got a mounted search and rescue team, which is all voluntary. Got a 911 center. 23 patrol vehicles, 13 unmarked vehicles. I'm just reading it down through here. And then we have a lot of different high-tech stuff, and we're part of the Central Drug Task Force. We're part of Code Task Force, which is that, and the Bulk Task Force. So we have a lot of stuff going on, and our 911 center has been recognized throughout the state for the technology that it has. So I got a lot of smart people working for me, thank goodness, because that technical stuff is not right up my alley.
Man, I hear you. You got a nice operation up there, and I was able to see it firsthand. How about anything unique regarding recruiting? You guys doing some video work and stuff? And Sheriff, I'm going to build that right into the kind of where we're going to go from there. We talk about unique programs and things within your organization, because I was able to see while I was there. I call it a green room. I don't know what else you call your videography room there. Talk about anything unique like that programming you have within your organization.
Yeah. Sure. So I'm thankful to have a fellow by the name of Steve Shubert. He used to have his own videography shop. He'd go out and do weddings and whatnot, and he's really, really good at what he does. And then he decided to leave that and become a dispatcher for us. So our green room, it is a green room. It is a big production site to where we do a lot of Facebook stuff, videos, and he's won a lot of awards for all of our videos that we have done. He's got tons of equipment in there, a lot of his own equipment he's brought over, and then some of the equipment we had purchased with some COVID money because we couldn't reach out to how we wanted to reach out to people, so we relied on social media. But no, I mean, he does a great job, a fantastic job for us. I got what's called a CET, Community Engagement Team, which is I have 4 personnel on that, and they help me with all my Facebook posts, videos, and they do a fantastic job on that.
Man, it's pretty interesting. I was looking at that room when I was standing there and just picturing all the things that you could accomplish within that setting, and then it took me to your website and. You talk about it. I forget the branding or what it's dubbed. But you talk about reading books of how you go in. Talk about that a little bit, and I want to plug your website because there's a lot of content there, and it's a really nice, informative website, user friendly, I would say. But these YouTube videos where your staff, you read books to people. I mean, that's what an I don't. This gets overused at times. What an outside the box thought process that was, wherever that came from, whether it was from your guy Steve or from you or from whoever that said, let's reach out to this people this way. I just think that's pretty cool.
Yes, sir. So we just try to come up with innovative things, and my team, my community engagement team, are great at that. But it's called Story Time with Jeffrey D. Paden. And did you listen to the song that it plays?
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Sure. Yeah. So we try to reach out to the community, and we're always trying to put a positive spin on law enforcement, and in the Guernsey County Sheriff's Office. And what better way to do that than to support children with story time? So yeah, we do story times, and we've done other different. We even tried a ride along program. There's just a lot of ins and outs on that, but we're trying to come up with innovative ways to reach out to the public, and to get those views that you need to grow your social media, because a lot of times when you use your social media, you're asking the public for help on something, and that's when it's best to use social media. But no, I mean, we just try to be innovative, think outside the box, and I have a great group that does that. And if you go to some of our sites, like Steve has done Christmas videos, and we've done music videos. One went viral, actually. It hit 500 and some thousand views. So, yeah, we're having a good time with it.
Well, I think it's great. And, within the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association, we have an image-enhancing committee. And Sheriff Mark Vasilishin from Wood County is chairing that committee for me. And we're really trying to build on what it says, enhancing the image of sheriff. And a lot of where that's at would be in the social media world. It'd be in the YouTube world and online, where people, of course, today with smartphones live with the internet and apps and media forms right at the touch of their hands. And so I appreciate your willingness to partner with us and to help us expand on what Sheriff Vasilishin's trying to do within his committee there to create potentially some video for us to be able to utilize in that committee.
Oh, yeah, and we're excited to do it here at the office, Steve Shubert and myself. it kind of like you, Sheriff. I mean, you're going around, and I really applaud what you're doing, trying to visit each sheriff's office, that's a lot. That's a big task. But, this is a way for me personally to learn about what other sheriff's offices have and to showcase the talents at each sheriff's office and, just inform the public of what we can do to help them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Anything else you want to discuss about programs within your office?
I'll
tell you one, Sheriff. I'm looking at a picture right now that I took as we were leaving your office that day, and I took a picture of this sign on your wall, and I'm going to read it to you. It's obviously not a secret because it's hanging on the side of your building. Safe Zone, Internet Purchase Safety Zone. Talk to me a little bit about that sign. Now, you explained it to me, but for the listeners out there, I think this is an idea that all 88 sheriffs should get on, and I've talked about it within my operation. We haven't technically put this in place with signage yet, but talk about the Safe Zone, Internet Purchase Safety Zone.
Yeah, so this is the thing we came up with several years ago. With all of the purchases online that people make and all the scams that's going on, so as a citizen, you could say, hey, I want to meet you I'll give you our address at 601 Southgate Parkway, and this person could tell us whoever they're buying something from or even selling something to. And then when that person says 601 Southgate Parkway, that's the sheriff's office. Yes, they have an internet safe zone here where we can exchange products, even visitation. But we have cameras there. We're a safe area, and if it's a legit purchase or a legit sale, why wouldn't you want to do it there? Yeah. I mean, it's safety. And if it's not legit, then they're going to say, no, I don't want to do it there. I want to do it somewhere else. And then that's when I caution the public. I don't think it's something you should go through. It could be a scam.
Yeah, I just think that's fantastic. And, some people might have the thought process that that's going to bring problems to them. But we're going to have to respond to those problems anyway. Why not bring that situation right to the sheriff's office, to that safe spot? And I just think that's really cool. And that's one of the few pictures that I've taken about each sheriff's office I've been to. Not every one, so many of them are very similar, but I'll try to snap a picture of something that's unique that I think I could implement. And that's one that I definitely took for you.
So your office is going to be really good because you're implementing. That's what I kind of want to do. I want to learn from other offices and implement stuff.
All right. Well, Sheriff Paden, I would like to thank you for being a part of today's episode. We would like to thank the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association for their sponsorship. For Sheriff Jeff Paden, I'm Jason Landers. I'll be right back here next month featuring another Ohio sheriff or deputy on the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association podcast.
Hi, my name is Bob Cornwell, and I'm the Executive Director of the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association, located in Columbus, Ohio. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. It was brought to you by the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association. With this podcast, we are striving to introduce you to sheriffs and deputies from around the state of Ohio and recognize their great work they do every day for the citizens of Ohio. For more information about our organization, Google Buckeye State Sheriff. Thank you.